Greetings, traveler between worlds. Tonight, I'll be your guide on a journey that doesn't begin with a step, but with a breath. What I'm about to share isn't kept in Kami-sama's halls, nor stored in the angel's archives. It's a memory whispered by time, forgotten by gods, yet alive in the heart of the universe. They speak of a name, Bulma. I see you've come this far with tired eyes, like someone who's trained too hard or felt too deeply. Maybe you're exhausted. Maybe you're carrying more than you should. Dreams, losses, old promises. So come, sit with me here, by this fire atop the tower. The wind moves gently, and the sky seems to breathe with you. Let the warmth of the flame hold you, and let each word light a lantern inside your silence. Here, there's no rush, no battle, no demands, just stories, the kind we listen to with closed eyes, as if they were memories we haven't lived yet. Ready? Take a deep breath, let go of the weight, and come with me. The journey begins now, and maybe, by the end, you'll discover that true power was never in the Kai, but in peace. In the quiet laboratory of Capsule Corporation, when the machines hum softly, like distant ocean waves, Bulma often sits alone by the window. The world believes they know her. Brilliant inventor, fearless adventurer, a woman who befriended gods and changed the course of history. But have you ever wondered what lives in the spaces between her words, in the silence, after everyone has gone to sleep? Tonight, she sits with her tea gone cold, watching stars that remind her of Dragon Balls scattered across black velvet. Her hands, capable of building devices that bend reality, now rest quietly on her lap. These hands once trembled when she first set out to find those mystical orbs. How young she was then, how afraid, and yet so brave. Sometimes I wonder, she whispers to no one, if I had never left home that day, would the universe still have found its way? Would someone else have met Goku? Would someone else have started everything? The stars don't answer, but they listen. They've always listened to Bulma. Have you ever felt that some choices weren't really choices at all, but destiny gently nudging you toward a river you were always meant to cross? Bulma has, when sleep escapes her and memories flood in like old friends. She often returns to that moment, the moment she decided to search for the Dragon Balls. Was it curiosity, ambition, or something deeper, like the universe using her hands to write its story? Her laboratory contains wonders that most people couldn't begin to understand. Yet the greatest wonder has always been time itself, how it changes us, how it reveals us. The young girl who once wished for the perfect boyfriend now smiles at her own innocence. What we think we want and what we truly need, aren't they often worlds apart? The midnight wind carries the scent of blooming night flowers through her window. Bulma closes her eyes. In this moment, she isn't the genius, the mother, the wife, the friend to heroes. She's just herself, a woman who has lived an extraordinary life, yet still feels ordinary inside. Isn't that the beautiful paradox of existence? That no matter how far we travel or how much we achieve, we still return to ourselves at the end of each day. The Dragon Balls showed me the world, she thinks, but what the world showed me was far more precious. Her fingers trace invisible patterns on the windowsill, circuitry, perhaps, or maps to places she's been. Or maybe they're tracing the lines of memory, the connections between moments that seemed random but formed the constellation of her life. In the quiet depths of night, when even Vegeta sleeps and the gravity room stands silent, Bulma sometimes feels most alive, most present, most herself. The weight of expectation lifts, and she breathes deeply, feeling the rhythm of her own heart, steady, persistent, human. We spend so much time looking for magic in the stars, she whispers, when perhaps the greatest magic is the simple act of being alive. And perhaps that's where true wisdom begins, not in discovering how to summon dragons or travel between stars, but in discovering the universe that exists within a single heartbeat, a single breath, a single moment of true peace. Dawn breaks differently over Mount Paozu than it does in West City. Bulma remembers this as she watches the sunrise from her balcony. How many years has it been since that first journey? Since she stumbled upon a small hut and met a boy with a tail who would change everything. Sometimes, in dreams, she's 16 again, hair the color of ocean, heart full of silly wishes, driving through wilderness with maps spread across her lap. How simple everything seemed then. How clear the path forward. Find the Dragon Balls, make a wish, change your life. Have you ever noticed how the simplest beginnings often lead to the most complex journeys? Like picking up a pebble and discovering it's connected to the roots of the world? I was looking for Dragon Balls, Bulma muses, watching birds circle in the distance. But I found something far more precious. I found friendship. The morning light catches in her hair. Now touched by time, she doesn't mind the subtle signs of aging anymore. Each line, each silver strand, they're maps of laughter, worry, wonder. They're proof she has lived fully, loved deeply, worried intensely, and survived it all. Goku, such a strange child he was, wild and innocent, and impossibly strong. Did she know then what he would become? Did she sense the destiny that hung around him like an invisible cloak? No, she saw only a lonely boy who needed a friend as much as she needed an adventure. Some people enter your life like a gentle rain, she thinks, and others like a thunderstorm. Goku was both. In quiet moments like this, Bulma sometimes wonders who really saved whom. Yes, Goku protected her from physical dangers countless times, but didn't she rescue him too, in her way, from isolation, from a life limited by what he knew? She gave him a wider world, and he gave her courage she didn't know she needed. The teacup warms her hands as the sun climbs higher. Time moves differently in memories, sometimes racing, sometimes crawling. Their journey to find the Dragon Balls feels both like yesterday and like a story from another life. Could she have imagined then what would grow from that chance meeting? A family not of blood, but of bond. A circle of friends who would stand together against gods and demons. A legacy that would echo across planets and dimensions. We never really know, do we? She whispers to the morning. We never know which hello will change everything. Perhaps that's the beauty of life, that any ordinary day can become the first page of an extraordinary story, that the stranger you meet might become the friend you keep, that the road you take on a whim might lead you exactly where you need to go. Bulma smiles. For all her scientific knowledge, for all her logical thinking, the greatest discoveries in her life have come not from calculation, but from chance, from opening a door without knowing what waits on the other side, from saying yes to adventure. Thank you, she says softly, though Goku is miles away and likely training or eating or sleeping. It doesn't matter. Some thank yous aren't meant to be heard. They're meant to be felt. And somewhere, in the warmth of the friendship that spans decades, she knows he feels it too. Night has fallen over Capsule Corporation, and Bulma sits among her unfinished projects. Metal parts gleam under the soft laboratory lights. Circuits wait to be connected. Blueprints spread like dreams made visible. Have you ever wondered why some people find comfort in what others find cold? Why some hands seek metal and wire, while others seek earth or fabric or flesh? For Bulma, machines have always spoken a language she understands. When she was young, and the world felt too big, too loud, too demanding, she would retreat to her father's workshop. There, amid the quiet hum of invention, she found peace, found purpose, found herself. People think technology is complicated, she says softly, turning a small component over in her fingers. But people are the real mystery. The clock ticks past midnight, but time means little when she's creating. Isn't it strange how hours can feel like minutes when our hands and minds are aligned in purpose? When we're doing what we were perhaps born to do, Vegeta sleeps upstairs, and sometimes Bulma marvels at the unlikely path that brought them together. A prince of warriors and a princess of science, both proud, both stubborn, both driven by the need to push boundaries, to discover what lies beyond the known. We're not so different, machines and people, she thinks, connecting delicate wires with practiced precision. We both function best when we have purpose. We both break down when pushed too far. We both need maintenance and care. Her hands, now showing signs of time's passage, still move with the certainty of youth. Some skills don't diminish with age, they deepen, like roots growing stronger, reaching further into the earth. The coffee beside her has gone cold, but she doesn't notice. When immersed in creation, ordinary needs fade. Hunger becomes distant. Thirst becomes background noise. Only the dialogue between mind and matter remains. The conversation between what is and what could be. Do you know what it feels like to bring something new into existence? To transform thought into form? Bulma does. It's a feeling beyond pride or satisfaction. It's almost like remembering rather than creating, as if the invention already existed somewhere, waiting to be discovered by hands willing to do the work. The best machines, she murmurs, are the ones that become invisible, that work so perfectly you forget they're there. Perhaps that's true of many things. The best breathing is the one we don't notice. The best love is the one that feels like coming home. The best lives are the ones where purpose and pleasure flow together like well-designed circuits carrying energy without resistance. A small robot on her desk stirs to life, blinking gentle lights like curious eyes. Bulma smiles. There's something profoundly satisfying about creating something that moves, that responds, that interacts with the world. Something almost parental. "Hello there," she says softly. The machine cannot truly understand her words, of course, yet there's a connection nevertheless. Creator and created, bound by the invisible thread of purpose. Outside, the moon slides behind clouds, then emerges again. The world sleeps and dreams, while Bulma builds tomorrow, one component at a time. In this quiet space, between yesterday and tomorrow, she finds a kind of harmony that daylight rarely offers. A harmony of intent and action, of vision and creation. And isn't that, in its way, a form of meditation, a focusing of mind and spirit, not in stillness, but in purposeful movement? Morning light filters through the kitchen windows as Bulma prepares breakfast. Not for herself, she's never been much of a morning eater, but for her family. Trunks will wake hungry and impatient. Vegeta will emerge from early training with an appetite that still sometimes startles her. Her movements are practiced, almost meditative, cracking eggs, slicing fruit, brewing coffee strong enough to match a Saiyan's intensity. Have you ever noticed how love often speaks most clearly through routine, through small, repeated acts that say without words, "I am here, I see your needs, I care"? Genius, Bulma thinks, with a small smile, is what the world sees. But this is what matters. The world knows Bulma Brief as the brilliant mind behind Capsule Corporation, the woman whose inventions revolutionized everyday life. They see patents and innovations, wealth and influence. What they don't see are mornings like this, quiet acts of care, performed without audience or applause. Steam rises from the coffee pot, dancing in the sunbeam like memories made visible. How many mornings has she stood in this kitchen? How many meals has she prepared? These domestic moments might seem ordinary compared to adventures with Dragon Balls or battles with gods, but aren't they equally sacred in their way? We search the universe for meaning, she murmurs to herself, when sometimes it's waiting at our own table. The knife in her hand moves smoothly through fruit. There's a rhythm to it, a precision, not unlike the work she does in her laboratory. Different tools, different materials, but the same focused attention, the same presence. Bulma has built time machines and gravity chambers, devices that bend the laws of physics. Yet sometimes she thinks her greatest creation isn't made of metal or circuitry, but of moments, of connections, of the invisible bonds that tie her to the people she loves. Could it be that the most profound technologies are not those that alter the external world, but those that transform the internal one? The technologies of relationship, of understanding, of forgiveness and patience, and showing up day after day. Footsteps upstairs signal that her family is stirring. Soon, the quiet kitchen will fill with morning voices, with plans and questions, and the beautiful chaos of lives intertwined. Bulma takes a deep breath, savoring the moment of solitude before it dissolves. She is many things: scientist, inventor, adventurer, friend, but here, in the gentle light of morning, she is simply a woman making breakfast for the people she loves. And perhaps that is not a lesser role, but a greater one. Not a stepping away from power, but a step toward a different kind of strength. The coffee is ready. The table is set. Outside, birds call to one another in a language as ancient as time. Inside, Bulma waits for her family, her hands still smelling of citrus and possibility. The heart, she thinks, is the most complex mechanism of all. No blueprint can capture its workings. No equation can predict its movements. And yet, somehow, we learn to navigate its mysteries. We learn to build lives around its steady, imperfect beating. We learn that genius isn't just about what we know or what we create. It's about how deeply we love and how fully we live. Footsteps on the stairs grow louder. Bulma smiles and prepares to shift from solitude to connection, from reflection to engagement. Another day begins, another opportunity to build something beautiful from the raw materials of time and presence. Evening settles over West City like a gentle blanket. Bulma sits in her private study, surrounded by photographs that capture moments from a life extraordinarily lived. Her fingers trace the glass, covering an old picture. 5 young faces smiling at a world that had no idea what was coming. "We were so young," she whispers, "so impossibly young." The blue light of her computer screen illuminates her face in the dimming room. She could turn on the lamp, but there's something comforting about this soft glow, something that makes memories feel closer, more accessible. Have you ever noticed how certain lights change not just what we see, but how we see it? How they can make the past feel present again, as if time were not a straight line, but a circle, bringing us back to where we've been. On the screen before her is a project she rarely shows anyone, a digital archive of everything, every adventure, every battle, every friend gained and lost, every world saved, not for publication or preservation, but for herself, for the nights when sleep is distant, and she needs to remember why it all mattered. History books will tell one story, she thinks, but they'll miss so much. They'll miss how Goku's laugh could light up a room even after he'd faced death. They'll miss how Krillin's courage grew from the roots of fear. They'll miss how Yamcha's heart remained open despite breaks and disappointments. They'll miss how Chi-Chi's fierce love was a power unto itself. And what of her own story? What will records say of Bulma Brief, inventor, heiress, Genius. True enough, but such flat words for a life so fully dimensional. The photographs watch her, like windows to other times, younger selves, preserved in paper and light. She doesn't long for those days. Nostalgia has never been her weakness, but she honors them. They are the foundation stones of who she is now. We carry our past selves within us, she murmurs, clicking through files of digitized memories, not as burdens, but as company. Outside, the first stars appear in the darkening sky. Bulma remembers nights spent under those same stars, camping during Dragon Ball hunts, watching for threats from beyond the atmosphere, waiting for friends to return from battles with impossible odds. The night sky has been both canvas and clock for her life's journey. How many pivotal moments have happened under its witness? How many tears and laughs and whispered promises has it held? A notification pops up on her screen, a reminder of tomorrow's meeting, the future, calling her back from the past. Bulma smiles. That's always been her way. One foot in memory, one in possibility, looking back while moving forward. The hardest part, she thinks, scrolling through images of faces no longer with them, is not being able to tell them how it all turned out. Master Roshi taught them about ki and combat. Her father taught her about science and innovation. But who teaches us how to carry loss, how to live with the spaces left by those who've gone ahead? Perhaps we teach ourselves, day by day. Perhaps we learn by doing the only thing we can, continuing, building, loving, remembering. The blue light flickers as another image appears. Trunks, as a baby, sleeping in Vegeta's reluctant but protective arms. The prince of all Saiyans, looking at his son with an expression that no battle had ever brought to his face. Some miracles, Bulma whispers, don't announce themselves with thunder. They come quietly. They come in ordinary moments that reveal themselves as extraordinary only in retrospect. They come in the spaces between heartbeat, in the silences between words, in the blue light of evenings spent honoring what has been and imagining what might yet be. Dawn breaks over Capsule Corporation, painting the dome structures with gold and rose. Bulma stands on the balcony, watching the city wake. These moments of stillness are precious to her. The quiet, between responsibilities, between crises, between the rushing hours of her busy life. Have you ever noticed how the spaces between notes make the music? How the pauses between words give meaning to speech? Bulma has come to value these intervals, these breathing spaces, in the composition of her days. We always prepare for the next battle, she thinks, warming her hands on her coffee mug. But maybe life happens most fully in between. Below, gardeners tend the sprawling grounds. Their movements are unhurried, methodical, so different from the blur of combat she's witnessed throughout her life. Different, but no less valuable, no less necessary. When you've spent decades in the company of warriors, it's easy to see life as a series of conflicts to be overcome. Enemies appear, power levels rise, the earth trembles under the weight of colliding forces. But what about the days when no one is trying to destroy the world? What about ordinary Tuesdays, when the biggest challenge is a meeting that runs long or a prototype that fails? Bulma sips her coffee, letting the bitter warmth ground her in the present. She's learned to appreciate these unremarkable days, to see them not as filler between adventures, but as the very substance of a life well lived. The boys are always training for what might happen, she muses, watching a butterfly land on the railing beside her. I'm trying to learn to live with what is. It hasn't always been easy. Adventure called to her from childhood, the thrill of discovery, the rush of facing the unknown. Part of her still yearns for that, sometimes. The electric feeling of boundaries being pushed, of possibilities expanding. But she's found another kind of adventure in the quieter moments, the adventure of noticing, of being present, of letting life reveal itself at its own pace. The butterfly opens and closes its wings slowly, as if breathing with them. Bulma watches, entranced by its fragile beauty. How many small wonders like this has she missed while rushing toward the next goal, the next invention, the next solution to some impending crisis? Balance, she whispers. That's what we never trained for. Balance between action and rest, between striving and accepting, between saving the world and simply living in it. The sun climbs higher, burning away the morning mist. Another day unfolds, offering its own particular pattern of light and shadow, challenge and ease. Bulma straightens, feeling the pleasant stretch in her spine. Today there are meetings to attend, projects to oversee, a family to care for. Ordinary tasks, perhaps, compared to collecting Dragon Balls or building time machines, but worthy nonetheless. Could it be that heroism takes many forms? That sometimes it looks like spectacular battles against cosmic threats, and sometimes it looks like showing up day after day, doing good work, loving well, paying attention? Bulma thinks of all the warriors she's known, their incredible power, their willingness to sacrifice. She honors their path. But she's come to believe there's also power in continuity, in maintaining, in the quiet work of keeping things whole. The butterfly takes flight, catching a current of morning air. Bulma watches until it disappears among the flowers below. Then she turns toward the day ahead, carrying a small piece of that peaceful moment with her. The space between battles, she thinks, is where we remember why we fight at all. For home, for family, for ordinary mornings with coffee and butterflies, for the chance to build something that lasts beyond conflict, for the quiet joy of being alive under the same sun that has witnessed everything and judges nothing. Night has fallen, deep and velvet, over West City. Bulma stands alone on the roof of Capsule Corporation, a telescope beside her, the vast expanse of stars above. This is her private ritual, stargazing not as science, but as connection, as remembrance. Each bright point of light seems to call to a memory. There, the constellation under which she first met Goku. There, the stars that witnessed their journey to Namek. There, the distant galaxy where battles were fought that Earth never knew about. The universe keeps no record of our struggles, she says softly to the night air. Only we do. Her hand absently traces an old scar on her arm, a souvenir from an adventure long past. Our bodies carry our histories, don't they, in lines and marks and the invisible ledger of cells that remember what we've endured. Have you ever looked at your own hands and seen a map of where you've been? The callus from work, the small burn from cooking, the line where a ring once sat. Our bodies are archives, storing what matters in flesh and bone. Bulma has fewer scars than the warriors she loves, but she carries other marks, laugh lines around her eyes from joy that couldn't be contained, a certain set to her shoulders from years of bearing responsibility, hands that have aged gracefully, but unmistakably from creating, building, holding, comforting. We're all time travelers in a way, she muses, adjusting the telescope, carrying our past selves within our present ones. The cool night air wraps around her like an old friend. Above, stars burn with ancient light, telling stories of cosmic births and deaths that make human concerns seem small. Yet Bulma has never found the vastness of space diminishing. Instead, it expands her, reminds her that being a tiny part of something immense is not insignificance but belonging. Through the telescope, she focuses on a distant galaxy, swirling light that left its source before she was born. There's something comforting in that continuity, That patient journey of light across unimaginable distance, something that puts her own journey in perspective. We want our marks to last, she thinks, but perhaps it's enough that they exist at all. The laughter shared with friends now gone, the tears shed over losses that shaped her, the victories celebrated under these same stars, the quiet moments of grace found in ordinary days, all temporary, all transient, and all absolutely real, all absolutely valuable. Her fingers find another scar, this one on her heart, rather than her skin, the invisible mark left by watching Vegeta sacrifice himself against Majin Buu, by believing, for a terrible stretch of time, that he was gone forever. Some wounds heal, but never disappear completely. They become part of the landscape of who we are. And isn't that its own kind of beauty? A life marked not just by achievements, but by attachments strong enough to leave imprints, by loves deep enough to reshape us. The night deepens around her. Stars wheel slowly overhead in their ancient dance. Bulma watches, feeling both incredibly small and wonderfully connected. One life among billions, under stars beyond counting, and yet, somehow, exactly where she belongs. We are made of star stuff, an Earth scientist once said. Bulma smiles at the thought. It seems fitting that the elements forged in cosmic furnaces should eventually take forms that look back at those same stars with wonder, that the universe should, through us, contemplate itself. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new problems to solve, new moments to navigate. But tonight, under the patient gaze of stars, Bulma simply exists, breathes, remembers. This too is part of the journey, not just the doing, but the being, not just the marking, but the witnessing. Thank you, she whispers to the cosmos, for everything and nothing in particular, for light, for life, for the privilege of carrying her unique constellation of scars and memories under this infinite sky. Morning sunlight streams through the windows of Bulma's study, illuminating dust motes that dance like tiny universes. On her desk lies an old blueprint, yellowed at the edges, creased from being folded and unfolded countless times. It's the design for her very first Dragon Radar, created when she was just a girl with dreams bigger than her experience. Bulma's fingers trace the lines of the drawing, following paths drawn by a younger self. How confident those lines are, how certain. Youth knows nothing of the revisions life will demand. Every blueprint, she says softly, is a kind of hope made visible. It's a promise of what might be, drawn before reality has had its say, before materials resist, before unexpected variables emerge, before time reveals what works and what doesn't. Have you ever noticed how plans and memories share a certain quality? Both exist outside of time, as we normally experience it. Both allow us to hold what isn't physically present. Both connect us to versions of ourselves we no longer are, but never truly leave behind. The young girl who drew this radar believed in magic, in mystical orbs that could grant any wish. The woman who now studies the faded drawing believes in something perhaps more profound, the magic of human connection, of lives intertwined by choice and chance, and the courage to reach toward one another across differences that once seemed insurmountable. The best inventions, Bulma thinks, carefully refolding the blueprint, are the ones that bring people together rather than set them apart. Outside her window, the world goes about its business, cars moving along streets, people walking with purpose or meandering with leisure, clouds shifting shape against the blue canvas of sky, life continuing in all its beautiful ordinariness. How many times has this ordinary world nearly ended? How many threats have come from the stars, from other dimensions, from the dark corners of power, misused? And yet, here it stands. Here people wake and work and love and rest. mostly unaware of how fragile and precious their existence is. Bulma has seen the fabric of reality stretched to its limits. She has watched friends die and return. She has witnessed transformations that defy understanding. Through it all, she has remained stubbornly, gloriously human, brilliant but fallible, strong but vulnerable, extraordinary but still bound by the same needs that define all human hearts. Perhaps that's the real power, she muses, rising to look out the window at the city she has helped protect so many times, not transcending our humanity, but fully inhabiting it. The warriors train to overcome limits, to break through barriers, to achieve forms and levels of power previously unimaginable. And there is value in that path. Value Bulma has supported with her inventions, her encouragement, her unwavering belief in possibilities. But there is also value in the path she herself has walked, in remaining grounded, in creating tools rather than becoming a weapon, in using her mind to build, to understand, to connect. Different paths, different strengths, but equally necessary, equally worthy of honor. The sun climbs higher, shifting the patterns of light in her study. Time moves forward, as it always has, as it always will. Bulma turns from the window, eyes falling on the many framed photographs that line her walls. So many faces, so many moments, so many threads woven into the tapestry of a life richly lived. In the end, she says to the empty room, though somehow it feels like she's speaking to all of them, to Goku and Vegeta and Krillin and all the others who have shared this long, strange journey with her. It's not about the wishes granted, it's about who we become while seeking them. And who has she become? Inventor, friend, wife, mother, adventurer, witness, keeper of stories that would seem impossible if she hadn't lived them herself. But perhaps most importantly, she has become someone who understands that blueprints are just beginnings, that the most beautiful creations often emerge from adaptations made along the way, that perfection matters less than presence, that the journey itself is the destination we were seeking all along. Outside, a new day unfolds, full of possibilities that no blueprint could fully predict. Bulma smiles and steps forward to meet it, carrying the wisdom of her past, fully present in her now, open to whatever comes next in this one precious life among the stars. And so, our journey ends, traveler, as Bulma continues hers. Perhaps, as you drift toward sleep, you will carry a piece of her wisdom with you. That true strength often looks like tenderness. That real power might be the courage to remain open in a world full of uncertainty. That the most important inventions are the invisible ones we create between hearts. Rest now. The stars watch over you, just as they watch over her. And remember, in the quiet moments between adventures, in the gentle spaces between heartbeats, in the peaceful silence before dreams begin, that's where we truly find ourselves. That's where we are most real, most alive, most at peace. Good night, traveler, until we meet again by this fire, under these stars, with new stories to share.